Hi, my name is Vincent Finet. I'm going to present you how with Salesforce Shield Event Monitoring you are going way beyond monitoring logins history and opportunity records creation. I have 15 years of experience in software development and architecture. I joined Salesforce in 2014, and I'm an architect up there. For 3 years, I'm guiding my customer that bought Salesforce Shield Suite. And so I'm kind of know my stuff on that. Hopefully you will have questions at the end that will, maybe we can go back later to that perception I have on myself. During this session, you will have, during all the sessions, you maybe have some slides about safe harbor. Okay, so I have mine because I'm a Salesforce employee, but here I'm speaking as myself, not a Salesforce employee. So yes, I'm a Salesforce employee. I love characters. I suggest that you go to the next session, to Dominique session, where you can. She didn't get any stickers for me to say that. If you want to know more about the characters in the baguette room, but hopefully today I will speak as an admin who discovered Salesforce Shield Event Monitoring and help his customer to get the best out of it. And as you see, this admin has no hair. I'm on my way.
A Superman.
Yeah, because this presentation is about superpower. So the agenda will be in 3 steps, and at the end you will have the chance to ask any questions. So first, on your mark, I will introduce the Salesforce Shield Suite. Second, I will give you a focus on what is typically event monitoring. And third, I will give you an example to better have an idea about what is out of the box and how can you extend that features to get superpowers, and hopefully you can fly. And at the end, you will rest. So if I say Shield, maybe you will have in mind secret agency, or superheroes, or even Nick Fury. Well, no. Here we're talking about Salesforce Shield. It was introduced by Salesforce in 2015. Actually, it helps customers with complex governance and high compliance needs. And it's a set of 3 products, okay, that are built natively on the platform. And optionally, you have to pay additional licenses to get that. So first product is Shield Platform Encryption, which encrypt the data, okay? The second one is Shield FAT, a huge product, which is Field Audit Trail. And hopefully the third one is the one I'm talking about, Shield Event Monitoring. So it's super important when you talk with your customer to make the difference between the offer, the suite, Shield, and each one of the module here. So here I'm talking about Shield Event Monitoring. If your customer speaks about Shield, which one is it? So don't get me wrong, Salesforce is already super secure, but Salesforce Shield is just another layer of security on top of your org. So for now, you were on your mark. Now let's get set for a little tour of what is typically Shield Event Monitoring and what kind of power it will give you. I will tell you what is it about. First, this is your org. So with your org, you have data, you have processes, you have your pages, and you have some kind of security, hopefully, logins, logout, profiles, and so on. When you get Shield Event Monitoring, you get out of the box 48 events that are captured for all your active users. So for example, you will have log about logins. You will have log about which pages are viewed by all your active users. The data will be for 30 days in Salesforce. So basically, this data is stored in Salesforce. The data is on a daily basis or on an hourly basis. It can be accessible via the API. The way you can get the data is the format is on a CSV format, which is not like very friendly. And before that, because of that, Salesforce think that it's not enough. It's not friendly. You're not going to be successful with that. You know we have the success word everywhere, so including in this. So to view the data, the licenses include 10 users for Einstein Analytics platform. Those 10 users are only allowed to see an application which is linked to that data. That it's totally different from the license that you can buy in parallel to get the full Einstein Analytics suite. With that, you have some automation to get on an everyday basis the data in Einstein Analytics. You have out-of-the-box dashboards that can give you some information like this. It's hopefully all the dashboards and you are there and the data is there, and so you can customize anything you want. You have to understand also that even if the data is available on the hourly basis via the API, on the Einstein platform, you will get the data on a daily basis. Okay, super important for that, for your client, to make it sure that he understands that he doesn't see the data in real time. You also have in the license a capacity of 50 million rows, which means that if you have a big org with a lot of users that are logging very much, that are looking at a lot of stuff, you will need to be selective on what you are going to extract from the CSV file. So Salesforce will store every log, but you will be able to select what you need on the Einstein platform. Okay, and of course, because we know maybe sometimes you have an extra need, you can buy some more rows. You have also a module that is very interesting, but it's out of the scope of this presentation, which is called security transaction, which can be used as a real-time blocker or event. For example, you can track if a user is exporting more than a certain number of rows when he extracts the report. You can block it. Or you can do whatever you can send an email to the compliance guy or whatever you want. Please note that for this presentation, I'm talking about the current version of Shield Event Monitoring. We have the real-time version of Shield Event Monitoring, which is on top of this. But this version doesn't mean that what I'm telling you is not relevant anymore, hopefully. Okay, so as I said, we have 48 events captured. So let's just give an example of 12 events. In a nutshell, you have all the events can be categorized in 3 sections. So first is whether or not you have adoption concerns, or maybe you have performance concern, or security concerns. So typically, customers are buying this for security reasons. And additionally, you can have adoption concerns, and also you can use this data to guide to prioritize your project, because maybe this page is the #1 page viewed by the user, and you have now an idea of the performance of that page, and you know that this page takes a lot of time to load. So you have the metrics now. So you can say, for my project, for the next sprint, I want to prioritize this because it has an impact on the user and obviously also on the adoption of the tool. Okay, so if I take a focus on the lightning page view event, which means that in this event, I am going to log every URL that the user are visiting on the org. Every URL. Not every component that it sees, but every URL. So every page. So on this, let's say on this table, I will have a lot of fields, but those most important for me, according to me, are browser information. Like if you want to make sure that your application is running well on IE or on Firefox and so on. After this, you have a login key. Login key means session. So you can have multiple lines because the user is seeing 5 pages, for example, and you can with this column you can make sure you can see that those 5 lines are related to the same session. You have a page context, which is a technical way to identify the page that the user is seeing, like for example the home page, the record page. You have entity type, which means which S-objects is related to that page, account, contacts, and so on. You have the page URL. So if the context and the entity type is not enough, you can get the URL and maybe do some tricks around the URL. You have information from the previous page in case you want to know, okay, to have some statistics over the user, the context of the user, and in that session you have also a sequence number. So obviously you will know is it the first page that the user sees, the second, the third, and so on. You have the time, of course, and you have the user ID. You have 2 user IDs. The derived user ID is just to make sure that this column is guaranteed to be 18 ID character. So use that if you have any doubt. So here's an example of such data. So for example, as you see, we have 3 different users. This is not very relevant because the raw data is only IDs. I don't have any information from the user as I want to see it, username and profile and role. That's the raw data from the CSV file. I have 4 different sessions with the login key, and I have different times. And you can see that the page context is like some kind of technical stuff that maybe your business users or your executive don't have a clue what is it about. So we will come back later to that. Those information, not yet in Einstein platform, can be retrieved as CSV files, as I said, via the API, but also via an application which is on Heroku. You can get the code from that application, which is called Event Log File Browser. Okay, so if you want to get inspired by the code, how it retrieves data, you can get the code from there. Once you have this data, you want to visualize it. So you are going to go on the Einstein Analytics application. You can set up an application for that. It's going to retrieve the data. And one day later, you will have data sets, like tables, containing data. So you will have, for each event that you selected, two data sets. One with the raw data, and the other one with the same data, plus some basic information about the user, which is more effective than the user ID. As you see in this example, when you click on the data set, you have the possibility to see the data. So the data is now in Einstein Analytics. Now let's get into an example where the data that is provided by Shield Event Monitoring is not enough for your customer. This is a real example from my customer. They wanted to have an idea of the common path that the user went through. Okay, so for example, if I'm logging to Salesforce, I'm going to the home page, then I click on the home, I click on the account tab, I go to the account home, and then I click on one of the record I have, and then I am on the account record. So I want to have a dashboard which says how many times a user goes to that path, home, and account record. That information is not directly in as a data in Edge Analytics. So what you are going to do is to say, okay, on one side I have the raw data. I also have information about the user, but it's not enough. So you're going to have three challenges here. One is to get a more friendly name of the page that the user is seeing. For example, you see the page context up there. It doesn't make any sense to me. So you want to give like a real word with, for example, home landing, report viewed, contact viewed, home landing, and so on. Third challenge will be to build that path within the same session. And the third one will be to do some kind of flag that will say on each row I want to flag which is the last page viewed. Which means that if I filter on is last equals true, I have the full path of every user. Okay. To do that, we are going to build a data flow. A data flow is something that you can do in Einstein Analytics to manipulate, transform, and do whatever you want with the data that you retrieve from whatever source. So here, we have only to append some fields on the dataset, on the previous dataset. So what we are going to do is to get the existing dataset, which is exactly this first node. I get the existing dataset in the memory. Then I will kind of create two formula field in Einstein Analytics, which is called compute extractions. So the first one would be to create from the page URL. I want to get rid of the parameter in that page URL because I don't want to. I don't want it. And the second field will be to build a nice name for the page. And maybe you said, what is the use of page URL no param? So in some cases, you have no clue what the page is about unless you analyze what is the URL. So you need that page URL no param to trick a little bit, and I give you some example here, and I don't think it's readable, but hopefully at the end of the presentation, I will give you the entire formula of the page context corrected. So here we have two formula fields, let's say. And after, you say, sometimes in Shield Event Monitoring, it gives you unknown as a page context. So what is the use of, for an executive to see that most of the time, the user sees the unknown page. So we want to filter those out. That's why the filter is here. And after, I'm going to have an expression which is going to build the path, but the expression is going to be relative to the session. So within a session, ordered by the time of the visit of the page, I will sequentially create the path. So on the first line, it will be only the current page. On the second line, it will be previous page plus the current page, and so on and so on. And at the end, you will have the full path. And the full path will be will take the friendly name of the page so that the user can see something that rings a bell for him or her. At the end, I need to register that as a new data set, and then from now on, I have a data set that I can use in dashboards. In dashboards, with that X-ray vision dataset, I can filter on isLast equal true, group by page path, and I can have an idea of what are my user sees. Okay? In that case, okay, I have this information, but in that case, I see that a lot of users are only seeing the home page. What does it mean? Does it mean that they have their Salesforce as a default page on the browser? Or does it mean that all the information is in the home page? Or does it mean that it's not useful? So you have the data now, and now you need to go back to the business and say, okay, now what does it mean? You can have also, for maybe the support, information about, okay, Carol Danvers is calling me, and she said she had a problem. Then you can have the information for a particular session. She went to home landing and report viewed. So in case you have an issue to reproduce, you can have trusted information instead of, this page, I had an error. Okay, thank you very much. And here you can have a hint how to reproduce the problem. So with Shield Event Monitoring out of the box power, you can do you can do a lot of things out of the box, and then you can extend it to a lot of things. In this use case, we saw that you can create the path, but you can go, you can imagine whatever you want, and it's a question about more about what are you going to do with that data at the end of the day. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions so far? Yeah, thank you very much. Wait.
What other use cases that you can see at your clients you can describe here?
Other use cases. So instead of that, out of the box, usually you have the logins that interest the user, the customers. But on the platform, as I said, it's only 30 days of retention of data. So most of the times, either it's okay for them to have that much of information. If not, then we ask, we require them to extract the data and then visualize the data out of the box application, which means you can load the data again in Encryption Analytics, but it requires another license for that. Or you can use another tool to visualize the data. For example, Tableau, which is Salesforce now. Yes?
Why does it take 1 day to get the data in instant?
You mean with the out-of-the-box thing? Once it's set up, then yeah, it gets it's very fast. Really depends on which on how many lines you're gonna retrieve, but it's very fast.
But I understood that there is a delay of 1 day to get the data in instant. Is that true?
Yeah.
And why?
You mean why do we don't have real-time information?
Yeah.
Um,
I guess it's a very complex technical reason, but maybe it's something that...
it's internal. You cannot with Einstein, with the template they use, you cannot retrieve more than that. So maybe technical issues or maybe something. You have also to keep in mind that in the real-time version of Einstein, Shield Event Monitoring, you're gonna have all the logs stored in as big objects With more than 1 month, it's going to be 6 months retention. But those big objects are not going to be in Edge Analytics automatically. So that's something that we even if you apply for the version number 2, you in Edge Analytics you will still have the 1 month retention.
And the event browser application.
Yeah.
Roku, so that connects to the real the live data.
Yes.
Is it just a download, or what does it provide?
Yeah, it's no, it's just a way to download the file as CSV files.
Okay. In real time, the latest data.
Almost real time on hourly basis. Yep.
Is it possible to get information about interactions with a specific Lightning component on the home page, for example, like you showed?
Very good question. So the question is, okay, so I have the information of which page I see, but here, out of the box, I don't have information about which component the user saw. So I don't think we have this information. To be honest with you, we only track the URL that the user sees. So for example, if 2 users are seeing the same page, but for some reason, maybe you activate some visibility stuff on the component, you will have no clue which component the user are going to see.
And as well, interactions cannot be tracked.
So interaction can be tracked. So that's another use case which is interesting. The interaction, it's all about clicks. So with interaction, maybe you can have a clue that I was on the home page, I clicked on this component, so obviously I saw the component, and then you can build also a path with the interaction. My experience on that is that my customer wanted to go directly into interaction, and I said, okay, you don't have any clue about what you want. So maybe we can start with the pages, and then we can go further once you have a clear view of what you want with the clicks. You can have also an interesting event is about search. So you can have all the search that the user are typing. Interesting.
Are you talking about the global search?
Global search, yes. So you can have some stats like in Google to.
So if I update a field, is that one click to update the field or one click to save? Or is it just the buttons?
It's the buttons.
Yeah.
The buttons.
With the, you said that Apex interactions are logged. So if you have, is that Apex that is fired from safe events, or could you just wire an Apex controller to the Lightning component and then see by running the controller that the component must have been on the page?
Yeah, it's it might be custom code. I know that some ISV are providing some components that you can put on every page that you want to monitor.
Yeah, exactly. So that you just see
Yeah,
the
that's
code that has been executed at the page.
yeah, that will be a nice way to do it. But with Shield Event Monitoring, you have all the URL possible in Salesforce that does that, including the page that you cannot add component into. Yep.
The real-time event monitoring you mentioned.
Yep.
Did I understand correctly? It's not GA yet?
It's GA from winter 20.
Oh, okay. So, and will that be extra license or it's included in the current?
Those license. Included in those license.
You have to activate something especially for that?
I think you have to activate things, but without any call from the support, directly from the setup menu.
And the events, are they just normal platform events? Can I consume them with like a normal platform event, or are they?
They are called. Okay, so in the first version, the data was only accessible as a CSV file, but with the new architecture of the real-time event monitoring, they are using platform event. So I think that you could trigger the start directly. So you had a question, so?
with Shield, we are in a Salesforce completely protected environment. And when extracting data from Salesforce Shield,
Mhm.
we took out this data. What's your suggestions to store, according to your experience,
Mhm.
could I store this data securely?
Cool, that's a great question.
So,
You understand what I mean?
no.
When I extract
to add
data,
security.
Yeah.
data from Shield,
Yep.
that means user ID, who's so what,
Mhm.
whatever. So we are
In a protected environment, even better.
outside protected environment because I extract the data out of Salesforce.
Mhm.
So what's according to your experience? Where do you suggest I could store this data securely? Because I know Salesforce and Shield, which is secure.
Mhm.
Heroku VPCs probably.
Yeah, but it will be it.
It's outside, but it's in the
Yeah, it's outside, but maybe it's in the US, so the French customer don't like it.
If you
Blah
have
blah blah.
VPCs set up for that, so
Uh,
virtual private spaces in Heroku, then that would
But it
be.
still has to go from one to the
It
other.
has to go through the transit, so.
So in short, it's not a use case that Shield is answering to.
Sure. That's why I ask you.
yeah.
Because you may have an idea because you probably may have faced to this question earlier. That's why I'm asking you.
What I face is for example, my customer on another part asked me to run an antivirus scan on each file that I load or download in Salesforce. And the official answer was that it's not our business to run any scan. So you should check on AppExchange, blah, 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 blah. So I think the answer would be the same. You have to maybe try to secure your infrastructure so that your PC in your company does not allow to, for example, have any USB port, doesn't allow to have access to Google Drive. It's more an infrastructure thing about your infrastructure, your own infrastructure, I think. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm free to answer via Twitter or Salesforce, email, sorry. Very fast. If you want, do this thread, very, very easy. Here is we have all the events documented. So the 48 events, and every time you click on it, on one of the events, you have a description of each field. What does it mean, and so on. And this is the code. Okay? Thank you.